to our agenda slide. Hi, Maggie, you have control. You want to slide me the next slide? Awesome. That's our agenda for today, and that's me up in the corner there. It's going to be basically a pretty simple overview. I'm going to let Maggie do most of the talking about Sakai, how they implemented it, what they moved from, the ups and downs of the process, and let's face it, we all know that every process of migration and implementation has ups and downs, and I'm sure many people like me have done many, or at least some. And then we'll come in at the end, and I will talk about our Smart the company and our unique position as a commercial affiliate with Sakai. And then we'll have time for the Q&A. So before we begin, and I introduce Maggie, I think that we want to pop up poll number 2. Poll number 2 is not just what you're using, what are the most important questions regarding LMS transition? So you can select one or more of the following, and there's a list. I'm sure everybody has their favorite things in a list that bothers them about transitions, migrations. And this is kind of prioritizing in a way. It's always difficult to answer these questions, but different schools and also in the Sakai world now, corporations and companies using Sakai often have different priorities depending on resource availability, both internally and externally, and might be a thing. So while we're talking, and Maggie's giving the story of College of the Redwoods, you could fill that out, and then at the end we will come back and take a look at those, and hopefully they will inform our ability to answer more specifically to address those issues. Okay. That's our poll number 1 so far. That's poll number 2 so far? Awesome. Great. Good. Okay, Maggie, are we ready?
Yes, I am.
Great. Everybody, that was the voice of Maggie Lynch, the Dean of Information Technology and Distance Learning at College of the Redwoods in California. And I would just like to say, in introducing her, Maggie is one of the wonderful people that I've met in the Sakai community. She's vice chair of the Sakai Foundation and has experience this is her third higher learning institution that she's had experience in doing Sakai. So not only do you get the benefit of the experience she had at College of the Redwoods, but a long and deep experience in the Sakai world. So I will leave it to her. Maggie, you're on.
Well, thank you very much. What I want to present to you today is really about College of the Redwoods, why we chose Sakai, how come we ended up implementing so quickly, and hopefully with our experience it will give you some ideas about what you might want to do on your own campuses. So I want to start off just by talking a little bit about College of the Redwoods. We go by CR. And what we have to do here, we're a community college district, and we serve 10,000 square miles. That little map on the right shows you we're in the very far north of Northern California, in the midst of the Redwoods pretty much, although we do go out to the east as well, to the Hoopa Indian Reservation and areas around that. We have 3 campuses, one in Del Norte, one in Eureka, which is our main campus, and one down in Mendocino. And then in addition, we have 5 instructional sites. And instructional sites are usually single buildings in a number of different communities, but they don't have all of the support of a main campus. Our unduplicated head count is a little over 8,000 students, and we tend to average somewhere between 18,000 and 19,000 enrollments per term. Now, we also have a separate virtual campus that's included in those statistics, and currently our virtual campus averages around 2,000 enrollments per term and runs 60 to 80 sections. However, with Sakai, all of our classes use the Sakai LMS to some extent. We've made sure that even complete face-to-face classes still have a presence on the web, and they do that through Sakai so that they can do things like upload their syllabus, make available any type of electronic documents, or even documents that are handed out in class, because students do tend to lose them fairly frequently. So all of our classes altogether run about 1,000 sections per term that are using Sakai in some way. The virtual campus is completely online classes where students never come to campus. We were running Blackboard before, not the newest version, but the older version. And what we really needed that was different from that is we needed a collaborative environment, not only for all of our classes, which was the reason that we started with Blackboard, but we also wanted that kind of environment for faculty and staff committees, for student clubs, for new learning communities that we've established, for students to get together outside of their actual class experience, but to continue learning and to learn how to rely on each other outside of the class environment, and hopefully even once they've graduated or left the institution. Now, we were going along okay with Blackboard, although there was some grumbling about the functionality of it, and faculty were beginning to wonder if it was the best solution for them. That decision process was moved up really quickly as things started to go crazy with the budget. And most of you who live in the U.S., and maybe it's true in other places of the world, you know exactly what that's about. Well, here in California, in the 2009-2010 year, this particular college was cut significantly. And that cut to the district was about 10%, a little over 10%, even though our student population grew by 20% from the previous year. We also, for the first time in a long time, didn't receive any reimbursement for growth. Typically, community colleges do receive if you take in more students, and then in the next year when your budget comes along, they reimburse you at a higher rate because you're now seeing more students. For the first time, that didn't happen. Our current budget is still in the legislature, and we really don't know what it's going to end up to be. Legislatures argue for a long period of time, and it could be anything from no cuts to 20% cuts. Lately, there's been some type of proposed growth reimbursement for up to 2%. Well, as you can see, if we were to grow more than 2%, that means that we are again faced with budget realities of having to serve students even though we're not getting any reimbursement for them. Of course, the other option would be not to serve students, but we have not elected to do that at all. So in May, we began looking at other systems, and we pretty much decided that we really wanted to go to an open source system just because the licensing for Blackboard or other vendor-operated systems was really too much for us to handle in our budget for the foreseeable future. So we decided to look at Moodle and Sakai. Those were the two that we compared, and we compared them by features against Blackboard, and then we also compared them in terms of what we perceived was their future. Now, I have to say that doing a feature-by-feature comparison is not a good way to do a comparison, because what I've learned over the years, I've been in the e-learning space for at least 15 years in higher ed, and I was even there way back in the mainframe days when we provided customer training. And what I can say is right now in the e-learning space that feature for feature, pretty much all the top candidates do all the things that you want. Maybe from one month to the next, someone will add a new tool, and as soon as someone else finds out that everyone likes that, they add it too. So that is really, in my mind, not the way to compare it. So why did we pick Sakai above Moodle? Well, for a couple of reasons. One is that the Sakai community is really open. We found a lot of good educational institutions there, and educational institutions that actually provide programmers from the community to help to enhance the product. And because they're coming from education, they're enhancing the product with educational needs in mind. And that means product development is community-driven. What community-driven means is that there's actually a product council. The product council gets together. They take in the input from everyone in the community, and they make some determinations about how they're going to move forward, what they think should be the next features, what kind of bugs are driving people crazy. And then they go looking for people in the community, other universities, sometimes commercial partners, who are willing to actually do some coding toward those goals. And then in addition, Sakai has a nonprofit foundation that's set up to ensure that it would not be bought by a proprietary system in the future. I've been at colleges that got into systems that were built in a college environment. WebCT is a great example of that. It was